The big 50. Yeah, I'm sure I qualify for all kinds of old people stuff now. But I could have taken the day off, but I couldn't. I woke up this morning knowing that I had to do at least a short live stream. I'm hoping to keep it to around 30-ish minutes. Uh, I I'll be a little candid. All right, I've been looking at horrible stuff since I was in my 20s. Very graphic footage. I don't even remember back in the very early days of the internet. I'm trying to remember what the name of it was where there was minimal video sharing. There was no such thing as YouTube or anything like that. The bandwidth to share video was uh, it was a very different thing back then, late 90s, early 2000s. It's back when you had like AOL, America Online, and you had to pay sometimes for the number of hours that you used the internet. You didn't have things like it is today, so getting video was a little bit hard to do early on in those early days. But I've had some sites that I would go to and would watch footage of things going on in the Middle East. Death, carnage, horrible stuff. One of the things I saw early on that was truly awful was do you guys remember, if you're old enough, I guess, the the decapitation of the Jewish reporter Daniel Pearl? Daniel Pearl was over in the Middle East reporting on things. He was Jewish. He was taken captive, and they cut his head off in I think it was Al Qaeda. Cut his head off, and they did it on camera, and it was gruesome. I mean, it was as dirty as you could get. They you got the guys. In fact, if you remember the very first Iron Man movie, the Marvel movie Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, there's this scene in it where his convoy has been hit and he's unconscious, and when he comes to, he's on his knees with some black masked men standing behind him, terrorists, and they're recording a video. That was actually a reenactment of what they did to Daniel Pearl, and yeah, they leaned him forward, pulled his hair back, and right there just started sawing, big Bowie knife, gurgling, bubbles coming out of the gaping part of his. It was horrible. Screaming too. He didn't go quietly. It was bad. And you could see stuff like that back then, early on, if you knew where to look. But there was a lot of stuff like that I saw, and it was gruesome, and it was hard to watch. And over the decades, I have never shied away from being exposed to that kind of content. It never gets easy to watch. There is a certain amount of desensitization to it. But it really impacted me in a way. It took the heroism and the excitement of war out of it. And you could see with Iraq war footage that was coming out, different things coming out, you could see, whoa, this is not like how it is in the movies. It's awful. Horrible. My point is, I've watched so many videos, hundreds upon hundreds of similar videos over the years. But I saw one last night. It was no more bloody. In fact, it was far less bloody than a lot of the ones that I've seen. Um, but it hit me hard last night. It was awful. And I think there was the emotional component to me that hit me way harder than what was actually being depicted in the video. And the video is actually on my Telegram channel. And I posted a link to it on my Twitter feed. So if you go to uh, either Blackstone Intel or at Morphonios on Twitter, I've got a link to my Telegram channel there with the particular post. What it shows are a couple children, maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, a couple little girls on the floor of a hospital because there's no beds. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not even that old. Could be 4 or 5 years old, and it's just awful because they're not dead. I've seen so many pictures of dead children from the past Israeli operations that I've covered. Nothing new. But this one, the little girls were still alive. And you could tell that they were delirious with pain. Shredded down one leg. You can see the bones of the leg sticking out through the flesh. And they're barely moaning. They're alive. Beautiful little girls. Blown up. And that was it like part of it is because I've got my little girls. And so it hits me hard when I see something that can be so personal. Because I know that if I was, just by fate, by chance, had I been born over in Gaza or, other parts of the Palestinian territories, and I was raising my family there, that could very well be me. It could very well be my daughters. And with the number over 3,000 children killed in the last 3 weeks by Israel, very good chance. Also, very good chance that my children would have lost their father by now, because I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. Probably would have gotten myself, killed. But I went to sleep last night with that on my mind. In fact, it's one of the few times as the video was going that I took my mouse and I was trying to turn it off, and I actually had accidentally opened it on 2 windows and I couldn't find the second window to shut down. And so I finally just muted my whole system and shut it down, locked my computer and left because it was just too much. It was too much. And I went to bed. And I woke up this morning, probably around 10 a.m., because I went to bed late. I woke up this morning around 10 a.m. with my wife shaking me, trying to wake me up. My room, our bedroom, is up on the 2nd floor. She was downstairs in the kitchen, cooking or doing something, and it's a good distance away from the bedroom. Downstairs, and have to go through several rooms to get to the kitchen. And she heard me screaming in my sleep, and at the top of my lungs, screaming in my sleep. And apparently I was experiencing sleep paralysis. I couldn't move, which I've been diagnosed with narcolepsy. I have sleep paralysis from time to time. It's where you wake up, but your limbs don't move. You can't move your body. You barely move your mouth sometimes. But anyway, she woke me up And it took a long time. I think she sat with me close to 45 minutes before I really gained consciousness and understood what was going on. I thought I was, because I couldn't move my limbs, and because my body was in a lot of pain from apparently whatever position I had gotten my neck into as I kind of thrashed around having these nightmares this morning. I got my neck stuck bad, and I've been taking ibuprofen all day. But anyway, it hurt really bad, and so I was kind of confused when I woke up. I kept asking her what happened. Was I in the hospital? Because it didn't make sense. I kept dreaming of this destruction, of this war, of what was happening. And in my dreams, it was my children that had been killed. And so I woke up, and she kept telling me, "No, Jake, you're at home. You're okay. You're not in the hospital." But I thought that was it. I thought that I was over there, and that my home had been hit, and that maybe I had lost control of my body, that I was so damaged that I couldn't move, and I was paralyzed, and I wasn't processing right. And it's been a tough day, because that really stuck with me all day long. And I've tried to be chipper, but I'll tell you the truth. I've had some of my kids call today, and I haven't taken the calls. I just couldn't. I just texted back, said, I'll call you tomorrow. Thank you for calling. Love you, but let me call you tomorrow. Because I knew that this would come out, that I would seem weird on the phone. I did have a nice time, though. My wife and I took the 3 little children who we still have at home. We've raised 10 children together over the years. Got my little 3-year-old twins, and I've got a 12-year-old son. And then my adult daughter, one of my adult daughters, and her husband joined us, and we all went to a corn maze, and that was fun. Little petting zoo. We took a hay ride around the acreage, and get pulled behind a tractor, and then did the corn maze, and then came home and had a little party, and everybody left, and then I could get, I got into here, because this has been on my mind. I wanted to talk about this today. And it just, part of it is, I think, empathy. Part of it is I feel so deeply for the people and what they're going through. What Israel is doing is a war crime of historic proportions. Even in times of war, there are rules of engagement. A civilized nation does not massacre thousands of civilians. That is not what a civilized nation does, and you can read into that what you think I'm saying. But Israel has done it, not once, not twice, but over and over again, and they keep getting away with it. They slaughtered masses of civilians in 2008, masses of civilians in 2014. The Palestinian people live under military occupation. They are unarmed. They don't have a military to use to fight back with or to defend themselves with, which is exactly how Israel wants it, because the government is a bunch of cowards. They don't want a straight up fair fight. They want these people handicapped, unarmed, docile. Israel always plays the victim card. Their position is that the whole world, for no reason at all, hates them because everybody in the world is just inherently anti-Semitic. That doesn't make sense to a rational-minded person. So why then is Israel so hated by the world? Well, it's because people of conscience recognize how cruel and barbaric the Israeli government and its occupation forces are in their ongoing abuse of the indigenous people of the lands that Israel keeps stealing. Open-minded people around the world look at the actions of Israel over a 75-year period and see consistent behavior that is simply repulsive to any civilized society. Israel is like a bully that slaps a weaker kid in the face day after day after day until that kid finally gets tired of being bullied and punches the bully in his face when he's not expecting it. But then the bully happily beats up the smaller boy to a bloody pulp and tells the school principal that the little kid threw the first punch, so he was justified in beating the kid up. Israel's racist apartheid system and its illegal military occupation has been committing mass murder of Palestinian civilians since 1948, and no matter how much Israel provokes its victims, every time those victims fight back, Israel plays its golden victim card. This cycle is never going to end unless the world unites to finally compel Israel to end its illegal military occupation of Palestinian territories.